He didn't wait for permission. He stepped into the light, brave, radiant, and unafraid to be himself. In a country where silence is often safer, Katsamonnat Naumorote chose truth and changed everything. His coming out was more than just a personal act. It was a cultural moment, a beacon for thousands who have waited to see someone like themselves, living freely, unashamedly. Now, we ask you, what does Katsamonnat Naumorote fearless honesty stir in you? Tell us your thoughts, your hopes, and what this moment means for the future we're building together. In a world where silence often means safety, Katsamonnat Naumorote chose something far more dangerous. He chose to be loud. Not loud in volume, but loud in authenticity. Loud in color, loud in love, and perhaps most radical of all, he chose to be true to himself. Born on November 1st, 1996, in Chiang Mai, Thailand, Earth was born into a society where politeness was valued, conformity was rewarded, and differences were often hidden. But from an early age, Earth broke every unwritten rule. While most children were learning to fit in, he was learning to stand out. He wasn't just expressive, he was radiant. Whether it was his smile, his spontaneous dance moves, or the way he laughed heartily when something amused him, Earth had an electric energy. He wasn't looking for permission to exist, he already was. Chiang Mai, with its serene temples and conservative traditions, may not be the place where a gay icon was born, but Earth was never one to wait in the right place. He created space where there was no space, and he did it first in the most private of places, his home. Like so many LGBTQ+ teens around the world, Earth dealt with the quiet tension that comes with simply being different under his own roof. His family wasn't cruel, but they were cautious. His feminine gestures, his love of bright clothes, and his refusal to act like a boy weren't overlooked. There were glances, worried whispers, family gatherings where the room froze when he walked in. At first it was heartbreaking, but Earth never gave them the performance they wanted, only the truth of who he was. And over time, something beautiful began to unfold. Acceptance that wasn't loud or abrupt, but steady. His mother, in particular, became a quiet supporter. Her support didn't come in the form of dramatic speeches, but in the form of presence. When Earth cried, she sat by his side. When he succeeded, she clapped the loudest. Sometimes love doesn't need to be spoken loudly to be heard deeply. At school, Earth's flashiness was both his shield and his target. Bullies didn't know what to do with him, teachers were reluctant to intervene, and yet, he thrived. Because even in his pain, he was creative. He started making videos in high school, first for fun, then to lift his spirits. At first, they were silly, exaggerated sketches, but they quickly became so much more. Through the lens of the camera, Earth began to build a world that saw him not as too much, but as just right. YouTube wasn't just a platform, it became his refuge. He posted his first videos without any expectations, just hoping that maybe someone, somewhere would understand, and they did. Thousands of people saw him, not as a joke, but as a pioneer. They watched him not just for laughs, but for the truth. Because when Earth put on makeup, he wasn't pretending to be someone else. He was finally letting the world see who he really was. And who he was? Wasn't afraid. Earth never appeared in a viral announcement or wrote a long letter explaining his identity. He didn't need to. His entire life was a living manifesto. Every hand gesture, every outfit, every video. He lived his truth not in statements, but in moments. And for queer teens across Thailand, many of whom had never seen someone so boldly expressed, Earth was more than just a content creator. He was proof that joy was possible. That femininity didn't mean weakness. That you could be vulnerable and still be strong. His earliest fans often said the same thing. He made me feel seen. And that was perhaps Earth's most extraordinary gift. In a world that tried to make him invisible, he turned the camera around and saw us. He built community out of vulnerability. He gave others permission to be a little louder, a little freer, a little more themselves. And so when we say Earth dreamed, we're not just talking about ambition. We're talking about revolution. The kind of revolution that starts in a child's bedroom and ends with millions of people watching, inspired, feeling a little braver than they were before. Now, a question for you. Have you ever dimmed your light just to make someone else comfortable? Have you ever wished you could live more intensely? Let us know in the comments. Your story could be the voice someone needs today. And don't go anywhere, because his journey has only just begun. He didn't wait for a place. He created his own voice, painted in pastels, lit with pride, and open to anyone who felt left out. In a world where Thai entertainment is still entrenched in tradition, where gender is expected to fit each role and each star is molded into an acceptable ideal, Katsamonnat Namurata emerged as a quiet storm. Not loud, not aggressive, not radical by design, but radical by effect. His rise was not the result of controversy or viral shock. It was something much harder to define and much harder to ignore. Authenticity. Earth began not with fame, but with a whisper. While studying at Thammasat University, he began sharing his thoughts online, not through slick campaigns or sensational stories, but through simple, honest YouTube vlogs. He spoke to the camera the way a friend would over a late-night cup of tea, warm, funny, a little cheeky, and deeply sincere. He didn't play a role. He didn't hide his language to avoid scrutiny. And in doing so, he gave voice to a generation of young Thais who had never seen anyone like him on screen. Gentle, open, gay, and fearless. Earth's power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being consistent. Video after video, he appears as himself, sometimes in a bright pink jacket, sometimes showing bare, vulnerable skin. He plays with fashion in ways that blur boundaries. Dresses with combat boots, eyeliner with soft curls, masculine silhouettes paired with feminine jewelry. For some, it's just style. For others, it's a lifeline. In a country where many LGBT+ people still feel compelled to perform to survive, whether by acting more masculine, more outspoken, or more normal, Earth has become the first widely recognized Thai figure who doesn't perform for anyone but himself. That choice comes with risks. He wasn't protected by a major entertainment company. He wasn't born into wealth or fame. He wasn't cast in a high-budget TV series to establish himself. He built that foundation himself, brick by brick, with content rooted in reality. He talks about being gay, not through metaphor or suggestion, but directly. He talked about heartbreak, about beauty standards, about mental health. He cried on camera when it hurt and laughed freely when it healed. In doing so, Earth taught us what many celebrities are afraid to teach, and that courage was not only inspiring, it was transformative. LGBTQ+ youth across Thailand and beyond began to see themselves in his journey. For some, Earth's videos were the first time they had seen someone who'd edit out their feminine parts to be accepted. Others resonated with his emotional honesty, his stubborn refusal to be taken seriously. Young people wrote to him, "Thanks to you, I went out in a dress for the first time. You made me feel proud to be gay." He was the first Thai creator to make me believe that I didn't have to change to be loved. Earth doesn't preach activism, but his life is activism, just by existing. Gentle, elegant, funny, emotional, and unafraid of being gay, he's broken the unwritten rule that to exist in Thai media, you have to conform, that you have to tone it down, that you have to trade your truth for likes or followers. Earth didn't just reject the system. He built something new. But the road hasn't been smooth. While he's been adored online, many doors in traditional media remain closed. Shows have passed him by. Management companies have looked the other way. Advertisers have hesitated. There's been no loud blacklisting, just quiet resistance to change. But Earth hasn't backed down. He's just gone places. He continues to innovate. He continues to collaborate. He continues to find new ways to reach his audience, even when the mainstream fails to keep up. And when he does step into acting, he brings his whole self to the table. In his LGBTQ-focused dramas and indie films, he not only plays his roles, but he brings them to life with real, living emotion. Unlike the scripted boy-girl love characters, this question, if Earth dared to live fully, despite every reason not to, what's holding you back? Tell us in the comments. Your story matters. Your truth belongs here. Before he was famous, before millions knew his name, before the aura of fame blended into his daily life, there was only Earth. A young man with an open heart, living sincerely in a world that rarely had room for such tenderness. And in the midst of that life, a quiet, lasting love found him. And Jay Chaiwat has appeared Nana. They met not in front of flashing cameras or on an elaborately staged film set, but in real life, unedited, without a script. Jay is not an actor acting. He is genuine, simple. He sees Earth not as a rising star, not as a symbol of LGBTQ+ presence, but simply as a human being, full of dreams, flaws, laughter, and tenderness. That was the beginning. Two hearts met at the right time, before everything became noisy. Their relationship blossomed slowly but surely, like a love that doesn't need a dramatic spark to ignite. They shared dinners on tired nights, long weekend road trips, quiet evenings without phones. Friends talk about how Jay soothed Earth, how Earth lit up Jay. They weren't perfect, but they were genuine. And in a culture where gay couples are often forced into hiding, they did something brave. They lived it out. Fans noticed, not because of a staged couple moment, but because love, when it's genuine, always finds a way to express itself. Earth and Jay appeared at events together, not hand in hand but side by side, with an intimacy that couldn't be faked. Their social media posts weren't declarations but fleeting moments, an arm around a shoulder, a caption that hinted at something more. They weren't trying to be role models, they just tried to be happy. And that, in itself, was revolutionary. They weren't just lovers, they were icons. For 3 remarkable years, Earth Namwarot and Jay Chaiwat shared a love story that transcended life. It wasn't hidden in the shadows. It blossomed openly, documented through photos, moments spent together, and tender words that melted the hearts of thousands. Fans watched them grow not just as individuals, but as a couple that radiated warmth, sincerity, and something unshakably real. They wore matching rings. They called each other husband and wife, with a playful intimacy that deepened beyond most public relationships. Every post, every glance, every quiet gesture hinted at something lasting, something forever. It was the kind of love that made people believe in a happy ending. And maybe many hoped they had sealed it with something more than words. But the truth was quieter. Though their love seemed like a lifelong vow, there was no legal wedding. No formal marriage, just an emotional bond stronger than any piece of paper could ever provide. But peace food doesn't always last forever. People grow up, dreams change, and sometimes 2 people who love each other deeply wake up one day and realize they are no longer on the same path. No scandals, no betrayals, no angry messages or confusing stories, just a conversation, then another conversation, and finally, a decision. Earth and Jay chose to separate. Not because they didn't love each other anymore, but because they had come to love themselves enough to know when to let go. Earth doesn't hide the breakup. He doesn't dramatize it. Instead, he opens up about has defined his career. He says it was a match, that it was timing, that they both had dreams that pulled them in different directions, and most of all, that he will always be grateful. It's a rare ending, mature, respectful, not bitter. A breakup isn't a failure, it's a graduation. Earth showed the world that gay love stories don't have to end in shame or silence, that there's respect in deep love and dignity in a gracious breakup. And for fans, especially queer fans across Asia, this is more than just a celebrity romance. It's a journey. Proof that LGBTQ+ relationships are just as real, just as layered, just as worthy of being told in their entirety. Not just their happy beginnings, but their heartfelt endings. Earth's story with Jay reminds us that love doesn't have to last forever to be life-changing. Sometimes it comes into our lives to teach us something about trust, about growing up, about opening up to someone. And when the time comes, that love teaches us how to let go. So let me ask you, our audience, have you ever loved someone knowing that one day you might have to let them go? Would you do it all over again if it meant being the person you are today? We'd love to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments. This space is yours too, to feel, to share, to be seen. What happens when someone who once loved passionately chooses to live quietly? When a soul who once made a home in another's heart learns to live alone, not just to survive, but to truly thrive. That's the chapter Katsamonnat Earth entered after his long-term relationship ended. And it didn't start with sadness. It started with serenity. For years, Earth was a model of gentle devotion. Fans who followed him saw not just a rising actor, but a man unafraid to love openly in a world that often requires LGBTQ+ people to hide. His vulnerability became a beacon, his tenderness a kind of resistance. But even the brightest love can fade. When the relationship ended, Earth didn't retreat into silence. He didn't collapse. He simply matured. The pain of a heartbreak, when carried deeply, doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like going to bed a little earlier, like journaling more, posting less, smiling softly instead of trying too hard. Earth embraced that healing. He chose maturity over gossip, silence over show. In an industry obsessed with speed and superficiality, he slowed down and dug deeper. What he found in that silence wasn't emptiness, it was clarity. In interviews, Earth began to reveal a deeper philosophy, one that doesn't put happiness above romance. He talked about the value of solitude, about learning to accept discomfort instead of rushing to find a replacement, about choosing wholeness, even when the world tells you you're not whole without someone. And through it all, his message remained gentle but consistent. You don't have to be in love to feel whole. This isn't bitterness, this is maturity. A quiet courage built from years of loving others, and finally turning that love inward. Earth began to reclaim the parts of himself he had lost. He became more proactive in his creative work. His online content felt more grounded, more authentic, more him. Less showy, but more present. Whether he was sharing a candid moment in his garden or reflecting on a simple coffee purchase, it all made sense. It was as if he was saying, "I'm not acting for the camera. I'm showing you how I live." And people noticed, not just diehard fans or casual viewers, but people quietly rebuilding their lives. People experiencing heartbreak, burnout, or the quiet pain of starting over. They saw a mirror of their own silent struggles. He didn't preach or make grand pronouncements. He simply showed up, with sincerity, with tenderness. And somehow, that was enough. His voice became a quiet hymn for the broken and the recovering alike. A quiet reassurance. You don't have to be fixed. You don't have to be with someone to be whole. You already whole. He never needed flowery words to make his point. Every detail, his fashion, his tone, the moments he chose to share, was carefully considered. His silence was intentional. After breaking free from the BL couple image that had been associated with him, the world not only moved on, but he reclaimed his own space. He was no longer defined by a couple, but began to live as a whole person in his own right. Not half of someone, but a whole person. And in a culture that still clings to the ideal of being part of a couple, his choice to live alone was not only brave, but quietly groundbreaking. But even when alone, Earth never wallows in isolation. There's a quiet wisdom to the way he interacts, with an unobtrusive but intentional extroversion. Instead, he builds connection through sincerity. His captions read like quiet reflections. His public moments, though brief, feel intimate, as if he's not just performing, but gently inviting us to witness his growth. In a world that's constantly chasing the next relationship or openly nursing heartbreaks, Earth offers something rare: emotional elegance. He doesn't weaponize the past, he honors it, he lets it breathe, and then, with grace, he releases it. He moves forward unbroken, unscathed, just whole, just steady, alone, yes, but never really alone. So maybe the lesson here isn't about romance at all. Maybe Earth's greatest love story is the one he writes himself. A story about patience, about presence, about the quiet joy that doesn't need validation, approval, or another person to complete the picture. Just space, just time, just truth. And now we want to ask you, have you ever been through a phase like Earth? A moment in your life where you had to stand up, not because someone else reached out, but because you chose to stand up? Leave a comment below. Let your story be heard, because somewhere there might be someone walking by, feeling a little lost, and your words might be the reminder they need. Being alone doesn't mean you're broken. Sometimes it means you're finally complete. In an industry often defined by silence, where authenticity is filtered through a corporate lens and LGBTQ+ identity is hidden behind coded performances, Katsamonnat Earth stands out as a quiet revolutionary, a Thai actor who chose to live his truth, not through sensational headlines, but with his heart. He didn't come out in the dramatic way the media wanted him to. Instead, he simply lived his true self. Openly gay, expressing himself fearlessly and compassionately. That choice, to exist without apology, has made Earth not just a beloved actor, but a symbol of gay joy and liberation. From the beginning, Earth's public presence was not just entertainment, it was a movement. In a country where LGBTQ+ rights are still being negotiated, Earth has used his platform to elevate queer stories with authenticity and dignity. Whether starring in a BL drama or posting his honest reflections online, Earth has never separated his identity from his art. His Instagram is more than a carefully curated aesthetic. It's a space where love and self-expression run wild. In his captions, he talks about empathy. In his photos, he challenges gender norms. In his everyday life, he quietly refuses to shrink to please anyone. Over the years, Earth has become an active and visible participant at Thailand's Pride festivals, not just as a celebrity guest, but as an active voice. He marched. He spoke. He has stood side by side with grassroots activists fighting for legal equality, transgender rights, and protections against discrimination. At Bangkok Pride and other LGBTQ+ events, Earth is often seen not in VIP booths but among people, taking photos, exchanging hugs, and amplifying the community's voices. For him, advocacy is not a trend. It's a thread that runs through everything he touches. One of the most striking aspects of Earth's contribution to the queer community is how he redefined masculinity. On red carpets, he's been photographed in genderless outfits, lace tops, painted nails, and sheer fabrics, without flaunting them. It's not pretense. It's not shock value. It's Earth. And in doing so, he's opened the door for a generation of young Thai men who were once told that their softness made them weak. His very existence says otherwise. Your softness is strength. Your femininity is not weakness. You don't have to be anything else to be loved. But Earth doesn't stop at symbolism. He speaks up, strong when necessary. In interviews, when asked about LGBTQ+ themes in his work, he never shies away. He leans forward. He talks about the importance of telling queer stories that are not fantasy but reality. He advocates for more nuanced representation, stories that go beyond stereotypes and touch the soul. And in a media landscape that is still reluctant to embrace queer truths, that stance is nothing short of revolutionary. He has also collaborated with LGBTQ+ creatives, photographers, and stylists, actively creating space for LGBTQ+ voices in his art world. In an interview, a young gay stylist spoke of Earth not just as a client, but as a partner. He listens, they said. He lets me create without judgment. That small moment speaks volumes. Earth isn't just theoretical. He creates real opportunities, real beliefs, and real change. So it's no surprise that many fans now call him the icon of gay joy. Not because he tries to be perfect, but because he shows that gay life doesn't have to be all struggle and heartache. It can be laughter, romance, beauty, peace. That message is rare and so necessary. Unlike many public figures who carefully avoid labels, Earth has always been clear: he is gay. But he has never let that singular fact define him. He is not a gay actor. He is a talented actor who is also gay. Someone who brings his whole self to the screen, to the stage, to the world. And that distinction is important. It creates space for others to follow, without fear that their identity will be all anyone sees. For queer fans across Thailand and beyond, Earth is more than just a beloved celebrity or BL fan. He's a ray of light in the darkness, a reminder that self-love is possible, that you can be beautiful and flawed, gentle and brave, emotional and proud, all at the same time. He doesn't preach. He doesn't politicize. He simply shows who he is. And sometimes that's the most powerful thing a person can do. Have you ever met someone, online or in person, who made you feel seen? Who helped you feel safe in your own skin, maybe for the first time? If Earth is that person for you, or if you found your own path to self-love, we invite you to share in the comments. Your story could change someone's life. Because at the end of the day, queer joy isn't just Earth's story, it's our story. And the world is better when we tell it together. There is a quiet power in a man who refuses to shrink. In the face of stereotypes, cultural expectations, and centuries of silence, Katsamonnat Earth Katsamonnat did something revolutionary. He chose to be true to himself. And in doing so, he became more than just an actor, a public figure. He became a mirror for a generation still struggling to figure out how to love, how to heal, how to survive, and how to dream without fear. Earth's journey didn't begin with a flashy headline or a dramatic announcement. It began with something much rarer: quiet authenticity. From his earliest roles to his true self, Earth has never played hide-and-seek. He has never blurred his truth to fit the market or made himself bland for comfort, and perhaps that's what makes him so compelling. In a space where so many LGBTQ+ artists are told to be careful, discreet, or silent, Earth steps into the light with a calm, steady presence. He doesn't need to shout to be heard. His honesty, his openness, they're heartwarming. To witness Earth's love story with Jay Chaiwat unfold in real time, over the years, on social media and in public appearances, is to witness a tenderness that the world doesn't often extend to young gay couples. It's not just sweet, it's necessary. Their relationship, their openness, their laughter, and even their struggles show what authentic gay love can be. They show us not a fantasy, but a human story. And when that story ends, Earth doesn't pretend. He doesn't erase the past. He carries it with care, allowing himself to grieve and allowing others to see that pain is part of the journey. That's what makes his presence so powerful. Earth never needed to be perfect. He chose to be authentic. In doing so, he became a role model for so many people who needed one. For kids who are still afraid to say I'm gay, for teens in small towns who think their stories don't matter, for anyone who has ever loved and lost and thought they couldn't make it, Earth is a reminder that they can. That we all can. His presence isn't loud, but it resonates. In every DM, every letter, every fan who whispers, "Because of you, I believe I can be me." And Earth's influence extends beyond romance. He represents something deeper. The right to exist with tenderness in a world that worships hardness. The freedom to feel without shame. He doesn't try to be the loudest or the most popular. He tries to be the most authentic. And that authenticity transcends borders, languages, and communities. In his smile, there is recognition. In his voice, there is protection. He's not just speaking up, he's holding space for those still searching for their own. We often talk about representation as a political act, but Earth reminds us that sometimes just being alive, loving, hurting, healing, and moving on is the most radical thing. He doesn't claim to represent everyone, but in the way he moves through the world, he gently says, "You are not alone." And for so many, that's all it is. And that's the real heart of this story. Earth doesn't just show us how to love. He shows us how to accept loss, how to stand up, and how to continue to believe in the beauty of existence. For many young queer people watching from the shadows, Earth is the first time they've seen someone like themselves not just exist, but thrive. Not just accepted, but celebrated. His success isn't built on controversy or clickbait. It's built on steadfastness, compassion, and a quiet resilience that never fades. He reminds us that healing is never linear, and identity is not a destination. It's a lifelong dance. He doesn't ask you to be brave. He asks you to show up. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is show up for who you are. And when someone like Earth chooses to live that way, in public, without pretense, it sends a message more powerful than any words, that your truth is enough, your story matters, and maybe, just maybe, the world is ready for all of you. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt invisible, insecure, or unworthy, remember Earth. Remember her strength, not because she never falls, but because she always gets back up. This is a reminder to you. You are seen, you are valuable, and your freedom begins the moment you decide to live your true self without regret. Now it's your turn. Leave a comment below. What part of Earth's journey has moved you the it's? If Katsamonnat Namorote's story reminds you that it's okay to be light, feel deeply, and live life to the fullest, then maybe it's not just Earth's story. Maybe it's your story too. Because in a world that often demands we hide, Earth shows us the power of being seen, unapologetically, honestly, and beautifully as human beings. Thank you for watching. If this journey has touched your heart, inspired you, or made you feel less alone, we invite you to support this channel by liking, subscribing, and exploring the other stories we've shared. And most of all, we'd love to hear from you. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What part of Earth's journey has touched your heart? Your voice matters, just like Earth's.